He said I was lucky. He stayed. After everything I gave up, my career, my body, my identity, he had the audacity to tell me I wasn't enough. That maybe if I smiled more, if I wasn't so emotional, he'd treat me better. Like it was my fault he forgot how to love me. Like his silence, his gaslighting, his cruelty were things I had to earn. My mother used to say, "Good women keep the peace." So I did, for years, at home, at work, in every room I walked into. I carried everyone's weight but my own. But you can only give so much of yourself away before there's nothing left to sacrifice. And one night, as he walked past me like I was invisible, after I'd spent hours planning his birthday, cleaning his mess, smiling through the ache, I realized something painful and freeing at the same time. He didn't want a partner. He wanted a servant. And I was done kneeling. Hi, I'm Talia, and this is the story of the day I stopped asking for love and started demanding respect. They say when your gut whispers, listen. Mine wasn't whispering anymore. It was screaming. That night, the clock had just struck 11:43 p.m. when I got the text from Mark. Out with the guys. Don't wait up. Chill went down my spine. It was the fourth Friday in a row that he had plans with his friends. No phone calls, just late-night texts and vague stories the next morning about poker, beers, and boys' banter. We'd been married for 7 years. Not all of them were perfect. But this was different. Mark had changed. I noticed it in small ways at first. The way he angled his phone away from me, the muted late-night notifications, the sudden gym membership, and a new cologne he never wore for me. But I kept brushing it off, convincing myself I was paranoid. Until that night. That was the moment everything began to unravel. I stared at his message, heart pounding. I was sitting alone on the couch in a t-shirt he'd bought me on our honeymoon in Maui. Back when we were happy, when he couldn't keep his hands or eyes off me. Now I couldn't even get him to look at me without a distracted glance or a forced smile. I took a deep breath and did what I had promised myself I wouldn't. I opened the GPS tracking app I had quietly installed on his phone weeks ago. He never noticed. He barely looked at me anymore, much less noticed me doing anything with his phone. My stomach dropped. He wasn't at the bar. He wasn't anywhere near the strip where his friends usually hung out. He was parked in a quiet neighborhood, on the other side of town, an area I recognized because a coworker of his had just moved there. A female coworker, Rachel. She was younger, single, pretty, and far too friendly with my husband every time I'd met her at one of his work events. The kind of friendly that lingered in her eyes when she looked at him. At the time, I thought, she was harmless. A little flirty, maybe. But now I was seeing clearly. I remember the way my hands trembled as I grabbed my keys. I didn't think. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just moved, mechanically, determined. I wasn't sure what I would do when I got there. I didn't even fully believe it yet, because I didn't want to. I wanted to be wrong. I wanted to find him out with friends, maybe having moved from the bar to someone's house. Maybe his battery had died. Maybe anything but what I feared. But deep down, I already knew. 20 minutes later, I pulled into the cul-de-sac and killed the headlights. His car was there, parked in front of a 2-story townhouse, Rachel's. I recognized it from her social media. I sat there for a full minute, breathing, watching, waiting for something, anything to prove me wrong. Then I saw them. Through the front window, lit up just enough to make it worse, I saw Mark. He wasn't laughing with friends. He wasn't sipping beer over a poker table. He was on Rachel's couch, shoes off, glass of wine in hand. She was next to him, too close, her hand resting on his thigh like it belonged there. And he didn't flinch. He smiled. He leaned in. He kissed her. And something inside me snapped. Not just the betrayal, not just the realization that my husband was lying and cheating, but the realization that I had given everything to this man. My time, my loyalty, my body, my years, and this is how he repaid me? By trading me in for a newer model and pretending I was too blind to see it? That night, I didn't just lose trust. I lost the illusion. The fragile dream I'd been clinging to. The version of Mark I thought I'd married was dead. And now, standing in the ashes, I wasn't going to cry. I was going to rise. Because if he thought he could humiliate me, betray me, and walk away, without consequences, he had no idea who he married. And he was about to find out. The drive home was a blur. I don't remember hitting red lights. I don't remember the turns. All I remember is my hands gripping the steering wheel so tight, my knuckles went white, and my teeth clenched so hard, my jaw ached for days after. The image of them, his lips on hers, her hand snaking up his chest like it belonged there, played, on a loop in my head like a cruel home movie I never asked to see. Every second felt like another stab in my gut. When I pulled into our driveway, his driveway, I just sat there. The house was dark, silent. It used to feel like a home. Now it felt like a trap I had built with my own 2 hands, brick by brick, while he smiled and lied to my face. I didn't go inside, not yet. Instead, I sat in my car and let the weight of everything crush me, my marriage, my future, my self-worth. It all felt like it had been traded away, for a woman 10 years younger who giggled at his dumb jokes and probably didn't care that he was someone's husband. What did it say about me? That I didn't see it sooner? That I let it get this far? The next morning, he came home just after 9 a.m., whistling. Whistling. He had the nerve to saunter through the door, toss his keys on the counter, and greet me like nothing had happened. Like I didn't see the lipstick on his collar, like I didn't notice the faint trace of her perfume clinging to his skin. "I told you not to wait up," he said casually, grabbing a bottle of water from the fridge. I didn't say a word, not yet. I was watching him, studying him, letting him dig the hole deeper. He talked about how the guys got too drunk and how he crashed at Jake's place, how he must have forgotten to plug in his phone. Lies, layer after layer. And it wasn't just the cheating. That would have been enough. But it was the way he looked at me like I was stupid, like I couldn't possibly connect the dots. Like I was too weak to ever do anything about it. That was the real betrayal. He didn't just cheat on me, he underestimated me. Over the next week, I watched the world around me begin to tilt. Everything I thought I could trust unraveled. I checked our shared bank account and found missing funds. Hundreds of dollars spent on dinners, hotel rooms, gifts I never received. I found Uber receipts to places he'd never mentioned. Late-night ATM withdrawals from neighborhoods I'd never been to. And then there were the little signs, the ones I'd ignored for months because I didn't want to face the truth. The locked phone, the cold shoulder, the sudden interest in going to the gym, the new haircut, the fresh clothes. It was all there, right in front of me. I had just chosen not to see it. And what did I get in return for my silence? My patience? My love? Deception. I started to unravel mentally, emotionally. I found myself questioning my worth. Was I not pretty enough? Not exciting enough? Not good enough? I cried in the shower. I screamed into pillows. I woke up in the middle of the night drenched in sweat, panicked at the thought that everything I had built was built on a lie. I had stood beside this man through job losses, through debt, through miscarriages. And this is how he repaid me? With silence, with betrayal, with someone else's lips. I looked around at our home, the home we'd bought together. The photos, on the wall. The wedding picture on the mantel. The anniversary cards I had saved in a shoebox under the bed. They all felt like ghosts now. But as the days passed, something shifted. The pain turned to rage. The heartbreak transformed into clarity. Wasn't going to cry in the dark anymore. I wasn't going to stay silent while he played house with someone else behind my back. If he wanted war, he was going to get one. I didn't know exactly what I was going to do yet, but I knew this. I wasn't walking away quietly. This wasn't just about cheating anymore. It wasn't just about another woman. It was about everything I had sacrificed. The years I'd spent building a life with Mark, believing in us, supporting his career, putting my dreams on hold so he could chase his. The nights I stayed up late helping him draft proposals. The weekends I gave up to run errands, plan family dinners, host his clients. I wasn't just his wife. I was his damn foundation. And he shattered it like it meant nothing. But what made it worse What made it unforgivable was that while he was out playing bachelor with Rachel, I was doing everything to keep our life from falling apart. Mark and I had been struggling financially ever since he switched jobs 6 months ago. He said the new gig would bring in more money eventually, but in the meantime, I picked up freelance work to help cover the mortgage. I even cashed out a small savings account I'd secretly started for our future baby, one we hadn't been able to have, but still dreamed about. Turns out, that money, it didn't go to bills or food like he said. It went to her. Expensive. Dinners. A weekend getaway in Aspen. A diamond necklace I found on our credit card bill that had never touched my neck. He was taking my sacrifices, our sacrifices, and showering her with them. And it wasn't just our money he was bleeding dry. It was our future. We'd been trying for a child for 2 years. After a heartbreaking miscarriage, I had poured myself into therapy, hormone treatments, acupuncture, you name it. Mark had been supportive, or so I thought. But while I was injecting myself with medications and clinging to hope, he was lying to my face, smiling, pretending. The betrayal hit deeper than infidelity. It hit my identity. I was the woman who had stood beside him when we had nothing, who had believed in him before the promotions, before the suits, before he was someone people wanted to be around, and now, because some 20-something flirted with him at a corporate retreat, I was disposable? No, not me. Not after everything. I started to see things differently. The betrayal wasn't just personal, it was strategic. Mark wasn't planning to leave me because he was confused or in love with someone else. He was calculating. I found an email he'd failed to delete, a draft to his lawyer about next steps and securing assets. He was planning to divorce me behind my back, quietly, cleanly. He was trying to erase me, take the house, the savings, everything, while keeping his reputation squeaky clean. That was the moment I realized I wasn't just dealing with a cheating husband. I was dealing with a man who thought I was weak, who thought I'd go quietly, too ashamed or heartbroken to fight back. But what he didn't realize was that women like me don't break. We burn, and we rebuild. He didn't just betray our marriage, he put my entire future in jeopardy. If he got his way, I'd be the one left with nothing while he moved on with his younger trophy girlfriend and a smug smile. And what really boiled my blood? Rachel knew. She knew he was married. She knew who I was. We'd met at company functions. She'd complimented my shoes and asked if we were trying for kids. That girl looked me in the eye and smiled while she plotted behind my back. It wasn't just one betrayal, it was 2. And they both needed to be held accountable. I wasn't going to let him rewrite the narrative. I wasn't going to let her skip off into the sunset thinking she won some prize. They were going to learn something about me and about karma. I didn't know exactly how, not yet. But I knew this. I had the power to destroy his lies. I had the truth on my side, and I was going to use it like a blade. Because when someone tries to take everything from you, there's only one thing left to do. Take everything back. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to throw his clothes on the lawn or post his betrayal online for everyone to see. Not yet. That would be too easy. Too fast. And honestly, not nearly painful enough. Mark thought he was the one playing chess, but he didn't realize I'd already started building my strategy, and the first move? Information. If he wanted a war, I was going to hit him where it hurt. His money, his reputation, his precious clean break. And I was going to do it with a smile on my face and a paper trail to back it all up. I started documenting everything, every transaction, every message. I created a separate cloud drive, locked with a password he'd never guess. I printed receipts, took screenshots, backed up texts, even saved phone logs showing how many times he worked late but ended up nowhere near the office. I also went quiet. That was important. He couldn't suspect anything. I played the part of the clueless wife. I asked him about his guys' nights with a sweet smile, kissed him goodbye when he left, even cooked dinner for him like always. He didn't even notice that I'd stopped wearing my wedding ring. He thought he had me in the palm of his hand, and that was exactly where I needed him. Then I reached out to a lawyer, one that specialized in divorce, asset protection, and most importantly, infidelity cases. His name was Carter Langston, mid-40s, sharp as a tack, didn't flinch when I told him I had no prenup and my husband was trying to clean me out behind my back. He leaned back in his chair, folded his hands, and said, "Good news, we're going to make him regret underestimating you." I walked out of that meeting with fire in my veins and a plan in my hands. Step 1. Catch him red-handed, legally. I hired a private investigator Carter recommended. Discreet, professional, expensive, but worth every penny. The PI followed. Mark for 3 weeks, gathering photo and video evidence of every visit to Rachel's house, every late-night rendezvous, every lie he told. They even caught him slipping her a small jewelry box one night, proof of gifting using marital funds. Step 2. Secure my finances. While Mark was too busy sneaking around with his mistress, I quietly opened a separate bank account and rerouted my freelance income into it. I froze any shared savings accounts I could access and flagged suspicious transactions. I canceled the second credit card under my name that he had borrowed to impress Rachel. If he wanted to spend money on her, he could do it with his own. Step 3. Get everything in writing. I started documenting conversations. Every time he mentioned work, finances, or our marriage, I kept track. I saved emails. I even backed up voicemails. My lawyer told me that the more I had, the stronger my case would be in court. And step 4, the one I was looking forward to most? Expose them, on my terms, in my time. You see, Rachel worked for the same company as Mark. She was technically his subordinate, something their company very clearly stated as a violation of its code of conduct. I took screenshots of their flirty messages on his work phone when he left it unattended. I even managed to get proof of them using company resources to meet up. He once used a company Uber to visit her. Idiot. If they thought their little affair was just a personal scandal, they were about to learn it had professional consequences too. But I wasn't doing this just to destroy him. I was doing this to reclaim me. The woman who had shrunk herself for a man who didn't deserve her. The woman who had bent over backward, trying to save a marriage only one of us was fighting for. The woman who had been lied to, betrayed, and nearly erased. I wasn't that woman anymore. I was someone new, someone smarter, stronger, and about to become his worst nightmare. Because this wasn't revenge for the sake of drama. This was justice. And justice takes planning. The two pieces were all in place. Now it was time to move. I started with the financials. I combed through every account, every statement going back 2 years. I made a list of every questionable transaction, dinners at expensive restaurants, weekend, hotel stays, boutique purchases. I cross-referenced those charges with his business trips and late meetings. It was almost laughably easy. I color-coded everything, put it in a neat folder, and made digital copies. I wasn't just gathering evidence. I was building a case that even the most aggressive divorce attorney couldn't ignore. It wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about precision. It was about making sure that when I went to court, I wasn't just telling a story, I was presenting a verdict. Then came the private investigator's report. The folder he handed me felt like a weapon. Dozens of photos, Mark entering and exiting Rachel's house at all hours, them kissing at a hotel bar, receipts showing joint purchases, even screenshots of their shared Airbnb account where he'd booked a romantic getaway to the same cabin we'd celebrated our 5th anniversary in. The irony wasn't lost on me. I handed everything over to Carter, my attorney, who raised an eyebrow and said, "He's cooked." But I wasn't done yet. I'd spent too long being the passive one, the one who forgave, who waited, who gave him the benefit of the doubt. I needed to reclaim every inch of ground I had lost, and that included the truth. So I sent an anonymous tip to HR at Mark's company, just a short email with screenshots of texts, evidence of gifts exchanged between superior and subordinate, and the dates of the company-funded Uber rides. Nothing overt, just enough to raise alarms. A week later, both Mark and Rachel were called into separate meetings with HR. Mark came home fuming, ranting about someone trying to sabotage him, how corporate politics were getting out of hand. I smiled and handed him a glass of wine. He didn't suspect a thing. That same night, I pulled the final thread. I scheduled a meeting with him. I told him I wanted to talk about our future, like maybe we could salvage something. He showed up wearing the shirt I bought him for his birthday, probably to play the part of the apologetic husband. I had everything ready. I know, I said calmly as we sat down. I know about her. I know everything. He froze. Then came the excuses. It was a mistake. It didn't mean anything. She was just someone to talk to. You've been distant lately. But I didn't waver. I slid the evidence folder across the table. Photos, receipts, messages, a copy of the HR report. I'm not here to argue, I said. I'm here to let you know that the divorce is happening, and you won't be taking a cent more than you deserve, which, after all this, isn't much. He flipped through the folder, his face pale. I already have a lawyer. I already froze the joint accounts. I already removed my name from your credit cards. And I've secured statements from our financial advisor showing how much of our assets I contributed. He stammered, he begged, he even tried to get angry. But I wasn't afraid anymore. The man who had once made me feel small was suddenly speechless in front of me. The mask was off. He wasn't powerful. He wasn't in control. He was exposed. I walked away from that meeting lighter than I'd felt in years. It wasn't just about catching him. It was about reclaiming control. It was about showing myself that I had the strength to rise, to fight back, to protect the version of me that deserved better than lies. And in that moment, as I walked to my car with my head held high, I realized something. Karma doesn't always show up on its own. Sometimes you have to be the karma. And I was just getting started. The final confrontation wasn't a screaming match or some chaotic scene in a parking lot. It was far quieter, more controlled, more devastating. We met at the lawyer's office a month later. I had insisted that everything, from that point forward, be done legally and on neutral ground. Mark walked in wearing the same smugness he used to wear to corporate meetings, but he didn't look like the man I married anymore. Something in him had cracked. Maybe it was the suspension from his job or the fact that Rachel had been terminated, while he was still under review. Maybe it was the reality that I had beaten him at his own game. Carter, my attorney, opened the meeting. Before we proceed with the division of assets, he said, there are some key points we'd like to present. What followed was the calm, methodical destruction of Mark's narrative. Carter presented evidence of infidelity, misuse of marital funds, intent to hide assets, and his inappropriate relationship with a subordinate, each piece backed by time-stamped documents, photos, and statements. Mark's attorney kept adjusting his tie and flipping through the folder, clearly overwhelmed. This evidence clearly shows a pattern of deception and financial manipulation, Carter concluded. We believe the court will find grounds not only to award my client the majority of marital assets, but also to hold Mr. Turner responsible for restitution of misused funds. Mark tried to speak, but even his lawyer placed a hand on his arm, subtly telling him to shut up. It was over. He had no power left, no control. And I hadn't raised my voice once. When the meeting ended, I stood, collected my things, and looked him straight in the eye for the last time. You didn't just cheat on me, I said softly. You tried to erase me. But I hope you realize now I'm not the one who lost everything. He didn't answer. He just looked down. I left that building with the legal process in motion, a favorable division of assets on the table, and the freedom I had fought so hard to reclaim. The weeks that followed were a blur of progress. The house, my house now, was legally transferred to me. I paid off the remaining mortgage with my freelance savings and a portion of the marital assets. I even took back my maiden name. Mark, on the other hand, lost his job permanently. Rachel broke up with him shortly after, once the promotion he had promised her turned to dust. Last I heard, he was staying in a furnished apartment downtown, trying to start fresh. But he would never get to rewrite the past. He would carry his choices with him, just like I would carry my strength. I started therapy again, but this time not to fix a relationship. This time to rebuild myself. I picked up my old hobbies. I traveled. I joined a women's networking group where I shared my story, not as a victim, but as a survivor. And for the first time in years, I felt free. I learned something important through all of this. Something I now carry like armor. Sometimes the most powerful revenge isn't destruction, it's dignity. It's refusing to let someone else's lies define your worth. It's standing in the storm, collecting every broken piece and building something stronger, smarter, sharper. Mark tried to make me small, but in the end, he made me invincible. So if you're reading this and you've been lied to, betrayed, manipulated, let this be your sign. Don't scream. Don't beg. Get smart. Get calm. Get ready. Because when karma comes, sometimes she shows up in heels, with legal folders and a plan sharper than any blade. And when she leaves, she walks, away with everything she came for and more.